is the classifier ramp and a gate. April tag.
Hello teams, welcome to the 2025 to 2026 FTC season Decode. Today I'm with Frog Force and we'll be walking you through a quick tour of the field as well as any tips and tricks you might know to perform at the highest level. This is an artifact and will be your main way of scoring points in the season. There are 24 purple ones and 12 green ones, and each of them has a very important role. Now on to Vrisha to explain the zones and parts of the field.
I'm going to start our field walkthrough by going through all of the zones that you guys are going to see on the field. So the first zone we have is the human player loading zone. So this is where human players can just take game pieces and also place them into the zone so that robots can intake them. So human players can only do this during the teleoperated period of the game, and robots can push game pieces into the zone, and human players can pick them up as long as the game pieces aren't touching the robot, and the human players also can't touch the robot in the process. And then when human players place any game pieces in this zone, they have to place on the floor, but they can also place it in your robot as well. Then we have the secret tunnel. So the whole function of the secret tunnel is essentially when your opponents are opening their gate and the game pieces come out of the classifier, it can go to your secret tunnel and it's essentially protected. So the opponent can't go back and get these from your secret tunnel. The next zone we have is our gate zone. So this gate zone is these tapes right here. So essentially you can't touch, you can't go in your opponent's gate zone. You can't touch the opponent's robot while they're touching the gate zone. It's like a protected area. And then after that, we got the two launch zones. We got a big one right here by all the goals and a big one on that side of the field. So in order to actually launch game pieces into the goals, your robot has to be touching one of these zones.
Now onto Endgame. This is the base. This is where you're going to park your robot at the end of the match. One thing to keep in mind is that you want to have your robot fully within the base to score the maximum amount of points. Being fully within the base means that you're within the outer border of the tape. A lot of times, as soon as the game comes out for an FTC competition, you may be wondering where to start. Well, for our team, Frog Force, we like to use our first system of elimination called FFFD, which stands for Frog Force Function of Deployment. This is a system that we use as a full team to examine the game and the game manual and figure out what functions are a priority. From there on out, we use this function list, ranked based on points, to design our robot and identify what are priorities. This has shown us great success in the past and works well for both FRC and FTC. The way that FFFD works is pretty simple. We start by ranking our priority actions for teleop, autonomous, and endgame. Based on that, we are able to rank them in a list. To rank them in a list, we do a full breakdown of the scoring analysis based on the game manual specifications. This includes finding out what different actions score, for example, scoring game elements, and then figuring out our max scores for autonomous, teleop, and endgame. Based on that, we figure out the importance of autonomous, endgame, and teleop and give them weights. Then, once we figure out the weight or the importance of that, we use it to calculate a point output for each of the actions listed, combining actions that are the same across the different categories. And from there, we are left with our final ranking list.
In terms of the autonomous section for FFFD, we decided to have number 1 driving itself around the field because you can't do much without being able to drive. Number 2 is driving itself out of the launch zone because it's easy points and it's really obtainable. The third one is holding the artifact inside of the robot because you can hold 3 preloads. And then after that, we want to be able to shoot it so that we can get 9 points. From there, you want to be able to intake the artifacts from the ground because each one you can get is also 3 points that you can score. You want to be able to read the motif because without reading that, you won't be able to create any patterns.
Here are our ranked functions for teleop. First up, we have drive ourselves across the field because it's important when trying to score elements when we're limited to 18 by 18 inches. We also have intake artifacts from the ground, which is way more efficient than picking up the artifacts from the human player. Next, we have shooting the artifacts into the goal from the big launch zone, which we put big launch zone higher than the small launch zone because it would be easier to shoot from the big launch zone. We also have more accuracy. And then we have open gate down to the field. Would get more points by scoring classified artifacts rather than overflow, assuming that we filled it up, but we would still be able to score some artifacts without overflowing.
Now that we've gotten a little bit of a breakdown as to why we ranked some of the actions the way we did in each of those sections, we have calculated our final list. Similar to most years, we found that driving the robot itself on the field is a high priority action. After all, you can't do much in the game if you're not able to drive. Then some of the highest priorities we found was intaking artifacts from the ground and shooting artifacts into the goal. While these may seem obvious, sometimes it can surprise you what ends up being a priority. This really helps us have statistical information as to what is the most important, and from there we've identified what are priorities in our mechanical design. So now we know that we need to be able to intake artifacts from the ground and shoot artifacts into the goal. We're also able to understand what tasks we probably don't want to prioritize. For example, we ranked parking the robot in the base with a partner as relatively low, as it's a difficult task and it doesn't give us much points. So that's an action that we may not focus on. The more detailed list is in the spreadsheet, which we will share down below.
One thing we do to help us in our design process is we analyze games across FRC, FTC, and VEX. So one thing we observed from past FTC games is in the 2009 to 2010 challenge, we noticed that a lot of teams that the game... So our first example is a hotshot game from FTC in which the game featured a similar wiffle ball element. Our second example was from VEX Nothing But Net, which also featured a similar goal in which balls were shot into. Across these games, we noticed that the most successful intakes and outtakes featured rubber band wheel intakes and single flywheel outtakes.